want to first start off by saying thank you, Cindy, for inviting me. Thank you, Lighthouse, for your hospitality. It's been great, isn't it? You just got coffee there, food. I want to also start before I start that. There's a person who snuck in here, and he probably doesn't want to be noticed, but I think Reverend Joe Tyson is here, who was my DS when I first started. And I wanted to say hello to him. He's standing in the back. Hey, Reverend Tyson. I love that man. One day, as I was complaining to God, and I said, God, I want to be a pastor. This has been long enough. I've been serving. And then God used Reverend Tyson. He called me up. I didn't know who he was. He said, do you want to be a pastor? And I said, well, who is this? And he said, it's Reverend Tyson. And we met, and that's how I got to Union Memorial United Methodist Church. I've been the pastor there for about 3 years now. And I thank God that I'm there. It's been a growing experience. One of the things I realize is that we live in a world of alternative facts. You ever heard that term before? But I submit to you, I don't think that term started in politics. It started in small churches that are struggling. When I first got to our church, the first thing they told me, oh, you're lovely, but we know you're not going to be here long. I said, what are you talking to somebody else? I don't know. I graduated from seminary. I got my MDiv a year later. And they said the same thing. Well, we know you're not going to be here long. And I'm like, are they having conversations with the bishop and not telling me? Is there conversations happening? And so I've been there for 3 years. And one of the things I realized is that when you're a small, struggling church, the hardest thing to do is to build trusting relationships. Because you've been in decline and you've been struggling, and so it's hard to trust people. And really, for me, the only remedy for that is to build healthy relationships not only with God but with each other. Amen, church. And so those relationships are really where hope is built. Amen. And so, and I just want to tell you 3 quick stories about where I'm seeing hope in our church, and I'm realizing that those signposts of hope have come through relationships. So I pulled it to the church, and my friend Paul's Irish, and he joined our church a while ago, and he pulls up, and I pull up, and he's there waiting, and there's a guy with him, and the guy's name, I believe, is Dave. And apparently Dave came to the church the week before. I wasn't there. And so I get out the car, and Paul says, Pastor, I want you to meet Dave. And I say, hey, how you doing, Dave? And then Paul yells out, Dave's an atheist. They didn't prepare me for that in seminary. I didn't know what my response should be to Dave, who came to the church the week before. And he tells me, I like your church. I'm going to go, oh, I like my church too, Dave. Thank you for being here. So you're an atheist? I said, yeah, I'm an atheist. And I turned to Dave and I said, you know what, Dave? God is bigger than our beliefs. I didn't know what else to say. I had that came from God, And so I walk in the church. Dave walks in with me. Paul's walking in. We had a glorious time in service. And to me, that was just a signpost that if atheists are showing up, maybe God is doing something. I don't know. The other thing that happened is that we had a leadership transition in our church, because how many know that when you're in a small church, that the easiest thing to do is to transition leaders? Okay, okay. All right. So this took a tremendous amount of relationship building. This took a tremendous amount of trusting. But what we did was we had leaders take a baton. And during that service, we said, now you pass that baton to the next tier of leadership. And we want you to know that we're not asking you to leave the race, because we still need you. But it's time to pass on what the things, because if you go, we're in trouble and we don't have anybody else to fill your position. So it's time to transition so that the church can go on. Amen. Somebody. And that was difficult, but they passed that baton. Some of them want it back, but the reality is, the reality is it takes time. It takes time. Again, because relationships are contrary to alternative facts. Amen? And the thing about it is the healthy relationships help really deal with falsehoods. Because when you get to really know people and you get to really trust them, then you can deal with things that are not true. It's not true that your church has to die. It's not true. There are some things that can happen if you can build that relationship. Now, the third thing I want to talk about is something that is currently happening. And I know I have 10 minutes, so I'm trying my best to move along. And one of the things I've been preaching in our church, it's not about church attendance. It's about church engagement. We have to figure out how to be the church that engages other people. And it doesn't have to be in big ways. It could be with giving out food. It could be with giving out coffee. We've done those things. We stood out front of our church in cold and given out hot chocolate. We gave about 200 pairs of socks away at a back to school event. Who know that you needed more than just pens and pencils, and socks would just go, and people are like, yeah, we need socks. Kids apparently lose a lot of socks, and so socks just disappear. You only had that one pair, and is it just me? Anyway. And so we've done all those things, but we're trying to help the church, trying to move the church together and letting you know we have to engage. Our survival is dependent on engagement. God has put us here for a reason. And I'm not trying to preach to you this morning. I'm just trying to encourage you, because in whatever small way that you're already doing it, keep doing it. Amen. Keep doing it. Keep doing it, because you're on the right path. You're on the right path. So our church decides, we have this annex. We have this annex. And the church has decided that, you know what? It sits on the corner, right across the street from another church. And it sits on the corner. And we said, well, what we want to do is we want to use that annex to put a community coffee house in that area. We realized that, I love coffee. I'm sorry. I'm one of those people who love coffee. And I was thinking about ways, and the church said, yeah, let's do that. Because the church was interested in engagement. And they said, yeah, let's do it. So we got a contractor now coming to look at the annex. This is my cheap plug right in here. I'm just going to do it. It's going to cost about $20,000, $25,000 to get it done. But the church is excited because it is now focused on engagement. It's focused on how do we better connect with the community. Amen, church. And it's excited again because they want to connect. They want to connect with the community. And I just, again, want to encourage you, because I remember Reverend Tyson, he told me, I didn't know this, but, there were two other people who were supposed to be, I guess, a candidate, and they didn't get picked. And sometimes I wonder, God, why'd you send me here? And the reality is that God sets us up sometimes to let it go. Amen? And he sets us up to really understand that if you have gifts and those gifts need to be used, God is going to place you in the place where those gifts need to be. Amen? My mother, God bless her soul, my mother was from Haiti, and my dad was from South America, and my mother was a diplomat in the Haitian government. And how many know when you're a pastor, you better learn how to be a diplomat? Amen, church? But the truth is we all are ambassadors for Christ. And I really believe, church, this is a time where we need to get out the boat, we need to engage, we need to let it go, and we need to continue to build relationships. See, those relationships are what's going to sustain the church. And I want to encourage you to continue to build them, because as you build those relationships, watch things happen in your church. They may not happen right away, they may not happen fast, but maybe atheists will show up. Amen. Thank you so much, Lighthouse. Now, I want to apologize because I graduated from Arcadia University, and I have to go back there today because I am with an organization on campus trying to figure out how to help the university better engage, watch this, and better relate to some of the minority students on our campus. And so I'm going to go back to my alma mater and help out with that, engage with that. So if you got 25,000 and you really want to, and contact Cindy. She has my information. But thank you so much, Lighthouse. Thank you, church.